Art One-on-One with Mr. Burgher.
Welcome to Art One-on-One. I am your pod boss, Nicole Jordan, alongside your professional artist, master educator, and America's favorite art teacher, Mr. Burgher.
Yes.
The intro gets longer.
As sweet as lemonade. Man, you are great at that introduction.
It's only taken me over a year.
It's only taken over a year to figure out how to introduce me properly, but I'm glad we've finally gotten there.
It is interesting how comfortable I am now. Like, I remember being like, I need to write all this down in the beginning, and I need to research this, and I need to do this, and now I'm like, okay, write a couple things, do a little bit of research, and I'm good to go.
Well,
a little more relaxed behind the...
And I think like everything we do, art or whatever, you can apply this to just about everything in life. When we start something new, it's like, okay, you're going to mess up, you're going to kind of fumble through it, and then as you get more and more comfortable, it just kind of evolves slowly, and we get to a point where it's like, now we can just kind of do it. We don't have to... a lot of times it was you wanted to do a bunch of research and you wanted to do a bunch of additional things where, like, the research, as we've talked about privately, the research is kind of my role.
Right.
And the...
guiding the conversation.
And the directing of my insanity is your role. So...
Yeah.
Everybody.
We still disagree about this because I feel like I need to have some type of research and education to be somewhat competent in what I'm talking about, or at least not look like a complete idiot in the art world. But I mean, truly, art is not my thing. Like, podcasting, having conversations, connecting with people, that is like my thing. Like, my world is spiritual and nutrition and whatever.
And
definitely not art.
A lot of whatever.
Now, do I appreciate art? Yes, because like the example I just gave you, was it this past weekend? When did we go to? No, Wednesday, a week ago, something like that. We went to the Stanley Museum, and like walking into that room where the Paik, like huge, the mural.
Well, nobody knows exactly what you're talking about. So you gotta set the stage a little bit, pod boss.
I just did. I said we walked into the Stanley Museum in Iowa City.
Okay.
And like the very first big room we went into, the mural was out there by Paik.
There's a mural by Jackson Pollock, which is his famous first major piece that was owned by Peggy Guggenheim, and you turn around the corner and you see the mural, and what happens?
I just had like goosebumps, and I was just like it was like almost this overwhelming, just like you get emotional. But
did you cry?
No. But like I had to go back to it because I mean, I don't know, it just drew me in. But and honestly, like most of the museum wasn't that interesting to me. I'm being brutally honest. Like, there were pieces that I liked throughout it, which I showed you. And there were sculptures and like certain things that really like jumped out or resonated with me. But I could not just sit there for hours and look at a piece and the different aspects of the art. But there were definitely ones that I enjoyed, whereas you could probably sit in there for hours and take videos and pictures, and like I could not.
Well, I think everybody has their thing. I mean, in art, as we've discussed, and that's the whole point of what we're doing here, is my thing. And so, of course, me going into an art museum, it's going to... And again, it depends on what I'm doing. I was trying to capture some content. I was making some plans for things that are upcoming. But also, just the entertainment of it.
Right.
And seeing pieces and discovering pieces and really looking closely at pieces. I think a lot of times people just kind of go into a museum and they march on through, and that's the end of it. But for me, it's more, all right, let me, like, I'll bounce around and look at things, and things will really kind of catch my eye. But there again, like, we would find pieces and say, hey, look, here's an artist that we talked about in the podcast.
That was fun.
Or here's something, or here's a thing. And so then it's like, we trying to make some connections, and also just for you to discover for the first time people like Keith Haring that we talked about last week, being able to experience that and get to know his work a little bit and kind of discovering that for the first time. It's kind of cool.
There were definitely artists that I recognized the names, and then like the pieces or like the type of art. It is interesting. A year ago, like that would have been totally different. And who was the husband and wife that? So I recognized Helen
Frankenthaler.
Yeah,
and they at the University of Iowa Museum, they have a Helen Frankenthaler right next to her ex-husband's work, who is Robert Motherwell. And so Robert Motherwell and Helen Frankenthaler have their pieces right next to each other, and it's kind of an interesting... I don't know if it's an interesting statement as much as it's just kind of interesting that they put them next to each other. That, in my mind, that can't be on accident.
Obviously.
The curator did this intentionally, right, for maybe to get a rise out of somebody like me that's like, what? Anyway. And maybe I'm wrong.
My point is to say we have evolved. I don't know that the podcast has evolved that much. We've kept pretty...
You don't think that the podcast has evolved?
As far as like what we do, we're very like we're still doing Ask the Art Guides. We're still doing Journey into the Archives. It's more of a relaxed conversation instead of like, okay, I'm going to talk about this and this and this and this. Now it is definitely more relaxed.
Well, in the beginning, when I first started the podcast, it was I want to be at 30 minutes. I want to be very precise with the time. I wanted to be like everything was very exact. Where now it's like, who gives a crap? Who gives a crap if I talk for 30 minutes or if I talk for 50 minutes? I mean, it's more
like, did we cover the content? Was it...
Right. And did we have a conversation? And sometimes it's barely passable. And quite frankly, there have been times that we have recorded podcasts that have never gone anywhere. We've never done anything with.
Just last couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And actually there are... a couple of those that I put out because there just wasn't enough content for a whole episode. It just was a kind of a disaster. But the point is that I took that video and used that for some shorts, little shorties that sprinkle out throughout the rest of the year. So the rest of the year you might, hey, when is that episode? You're not going to find that episode because it was on the chopping room floor.
It's true.
So,
but
anyway.
You're able to get some stuff out of it.
But yeah, I mean, you do what you can do when you can do it. And at any rate.
Sometimes it's shit and sometimes it's not.
Well, they say you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And
I have never heard that before.
And every time we come here, we're trying to make chicken salad, and sometimes, it's all we got is chicken shit. We got to throw it out. So,
all right.
At any rate, marching right along.
We are going to jump into our longest running segment, Ask the Art Guys.
That's my line.
I know, I've kind of been saying it lately, and now I'm getting in the habit. So, tear it up. Go for it.
You go ahead. You're stepping on.
Well, you always say who the publisher is. You did that forever. That is something that has evolved. You used to.
Well, I used to promote the Oracle cards, and again, I'm not against the promotion of the Oracle cards by Lawrence King Publishing. They have a good product. I just wish that they would reciprocate a little bit. I'm promoting their wares, and they
we're going to be choosing a new. I hope we do. I think I want to do the research on that and try to find a new deck to guide our conversation. And maybe it won't be art, or maybe it will be art. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be. I don't know. But
either way, the art guides will be in our mind
to guide our conversation.
Right, and I think that's the point of the cards. I think sometimes, like with this is a good first deck of oracle cards to kind of guide the conversation in that they are geared toward a specific artist, so we can kind of branch into that artist and whatnot. But I think it's not really the evolution moving forward should be not necessarily looking at who the artist is or the history of the artist, but thinking about the piece of the conversation, like what does this mean, and then tying it to an artist or tying it to an art-related conversation, which
you're going to have to do that. So I can find a good deck, but you're going to have to be the one that ties it into, and that's where it's going to be hard for me to give up this deck or something similar, because it does allow me to like bring in an artist and then do a little bit of research on them ahead of time.
Right.
Whereas if we just get a deck that only guides the conversation, and you're going to have to do the transition to who we want to talk about, you're going to have to step up your game.
And you're going to have to step up the old conversation.
All right, so the card I pulled, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but Le Corbusier?
Le Corbusier.
There you go.
I don't know.
I did a little bit of research, as I always do.
I promise you, somebody's going to be like, no.
Butchered that lady.
The enunciation is on the syllable.
Yeah. Well, again, it's an architect. Last week in our
another
live, we had an architect for the artist, and he is also an architect. It seems like he focused on, with just a little bit of research I did, he like tried to focus on the Victorian age, but then put like a modern spin on it, or bring it to be more modern. And he focused on like efficiency. How can I make things more efficient? Which is kind of architecture.
When was he? Do you know when this artist was artisting?
Not a clue.
Like the time period. Well,
not a clue.
I mean, clearly he's post-Victorian, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, he was talking about turbines and things like that, so I'd say he's pretty contemporary.
That turbines have been around forever.
The big turbines? I would assume that's what he's referring to. But
I don't know.
Anyway, so I don't love the guided conversations here, but the last one, this is the art, the life, and the works. So the works is go big and go home, instead of go big or go home. Right.
Go big and go home. And I'm assuming, being an architect, he's making large things. He's basically, it's a statement of, and again, this is all assumption, he's making these statements of big architectural pieces, and then, going home to his...
Or big as in, like, popular, like, impact, not necessarily size. Could be. Could be either one of those. But I do like it because, like, this could be my mission statement. If I had a mission statement about life in general, like my business, my kids, all of the things, it would be go big and go home, because I love doing like really cool, big, impactful things, and then I want to go home and I want to watch a movie. I want to crawl into bed with a glass of wine and have nobody around.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great mission statement.
Well, it's I mean, yeah.
You don't agree?
It's not up to me to agree.
Well, what would be your mission statement?
I don't know. I haven't really.
I knew.
How would I know?
This is what conversation you want to be. Just like, let's have a conversation. Well, I'm asking you a question.
But you're asking me like a very profound question. Like, what's your mission statement? Like,
okay, this is.
Come on.
I'm not being This is not a serious question. This is a fun question. If you had to come up with a fun mission statement.
But that's the thing. There are people like you that'll just be like, oh, my favorite movie is this. Well, shit. You ask me what my favorite movie is.
You can't make a decision.
Sit down and strap on, because, boy, I tell you what, you're looking for Are you talking about rom-coms? You talking about horror? You talking about comedies? You talking about what genre? What decade? What?
This is a general life mission statement, and I think for my life, go big and go home.
But to say, what's your favorite? What's this? What's the definitive answer to this thing? You can't come to someone like me and say, what's your mission statement on life? No. I can't.
You can't come up with some movie line. You're always coming up with movie lines or saying things from movies that we watch. Like, you can practically recite most of the damn movies that we watch 50 million times in a row.
We don't, number one, do that.
Yes, we do.
No.
I can rattle off movies that you would watch over and over again if you could, and shows. Don't.
That's incorrect information.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, no, I could not just rattle off, nor would I choose to just flippantly.
You're such an old man sometimes. I mean, just go with it. That's not a movie you would watch, but
just go
that was
with
with
it.
Adam Sandler. Just
I've
go with
that.
it.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
Brooklyn Decker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jennifer Aniston. Adam Sandler. I know the movie. I like that movie.
You are very okay, just live a little and give a mission
I don't
statement.
think that living a little, I'm not living any more or less by not giving you a mission. I'm not going to appease this conversation. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to just throw out something and regret it.
Why would you regret just jokingly saying your mission statement?
I'm putting this out there. This could be played at my tomb someday. I don't want somebody getting the wrong information.
Maybe by then I'll learn how to edit and I can just pull it out.
My great-great-grandchildren are going to be watching this and they're going to say, oh, what did old granddad, what was his life statement? Oh, it was this. And he said his life statement was this. And it'll be going on for generations and generations. And then they'll be... I don't want to give them the wrong impression.
No. It's not about... It's about... We talked about last week. Creativity. Being creative in the moment. Coming up with your own thing. That's what I think it's more about than you not wanting to mess up. It's more about you just right now in this very moment are not able to come up with something creative enough that you think will be this resonating thing with people that isn't going to. I
don't think everything I say has to resonate with everyone.
I didn't say that, but you want to sound good. You want it to be...
Do you want to sound bad?
Well, I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't. Yeah, I don't know that I...
That's why you want to preview every artist. You want to know...
I'm pretty sure...
You pull your cards in way in advance. No, I don't know what...
I have not done that in a long time. As we just said, I'm very much on the fly nowadays.
Just go with the flow. When it comes to a lot of this stuff, they're like, I don't know. Wherever the conversation goes, I'm just along for the ride. I don't have my notes and my...
You want me to guide the conversation. I have to have notes.
Okay, then live a little.
I just did. I picked that statement, which I had not seen, and then I said, that's my mission statement. That's my life statement.
Well, that's a silly life statement.
Really?
Go big and go home.
Yes.
That's how you live your life.
I'm full in. Whatever I'm doing, I'm full in. Just like helping you today, which this is, but just like helping you today. I am all in. I'm going to give it 100%, work hard while I'm doing it, but then I need my space and my downtime when I get home. Go big and go home. That's
go big and go home. Well,
hey, speaking of slogans, this is a great move into my Journey into the Archive video.
Okay.
Namjoon Paik.
Namjoon Paik
was, and this is going back 8 years ago.
Holy Moses!
So you were just, I don't even recognize you back then.
I'll tell you, the one thing I will tell you about videos that go back that far. If you're journeying into the archives and you're going back 8 years, you're going to see a lot of differences from what I do now to what I did then. Like, it was a lot more of me talking to the camera. It was a lot less clips. It was a lot less...
Of what Namjoon Paik did.
It was a lot less...
Came up with.
Yeah. I mean, it was it's a lot of just me talking and giving information. Whereas now, it's like stories and you see pictures and it's all like you see me at the beginning, you see me at the end. Other than that, there's not a lot of me in the middle.
That's not true. During Art 1-on-1. Oh, well, okay, we're not talking about Art 1-on-1. We're talking about your videos.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we're not talking about the podcast.
That's
true.
About the videos. Do a lot of voice-over stuff.
Just voiceovers, just saying, okay, and just letting the artwork tell the story as opposed to me standing there in front of the camera yammering on.
And it was, I did notice that you didn't have any of the media stuff on there, but it was just as informational.
And again, I don't know. It's been, I haven't shown a Namjoon Paik. A lot of times, and again, the origin of these is that I take these videos and I use the content to tell the story of artists or artwork or an art movement or whatever the case might be to students. And so I use these in a classroom environment. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times. I've had students that have used them for art papers or blah, blah, blah. That's not the point. The point is that the intention of these is to use it in the classroom. And so so those very early videos, the Piero Manzoni, then I did Rembrandt, I did Picasso, I did a Van Gogh, Namjoon Paik is in the mix here, going back to 2007, 2008, 2009, like that neighborhood. I'm telling you, it's a lot of me in front of the camera telling a story because I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to do all of those things. I didn't know how to take the audio out. I didn't know how to do a lot of those things.
Yeah, those videos have definitely evolved.
And so, like, you look at that Van Gogh video, the audio, it looks really cool. There's a lot of things that look cool, but there's a lot of the audio that got chopped up. And anyway, the point is, and I've since done several other Van Gogh videos, so there's plenty of good content out there that tells a little bit better story. But at any rate, it's all evolution. We don't just, like I said at the beginning, we didn't just start making this podcast and it just worked. It took some time to get things in alignment to figure out, okay, this is how I want to tell stories. Your first videos on YouTube are going to be not real great, and that's okay.
I didn't think that this was not great. I appreciate the bringing in the media now and the, being able to see the artist and the works and the whatever you're bringing in. And obviously, Namjoon Paik was like a big contributor of that movement, right? He brought in the slogans at the bottoms of the screen coming across. He brought in the video and art together, art and music. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. What do you have to say about it?
I think that, he did lots of things in terms of fusing things together. He gave, through innovation, he made the capability of putting text on a video. Through innovation, he was able to provide a way to give multiple points of information simultaneously through text and audio. He was able to, through innovation and thoughtfulness in his artwork, give a Western culture a perspective of Eastern religion. With his influence of like Video Buddha or Buddha TV.
I think it was Buddha
TV Buddha. I can't remember the order or I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's TV Buddha. Anyway, regardless of what the title of the work is, the point is that the ability, the thoughtfulness to give another culture a glimpse at something else, making things a little bit more philosophical, taking those ideas and sharing them and presenting them in a certain way. I think that's, to me, that's really cool. That's really innovative. That's really unique. It wasn't just a painting. It wasn't just a drawing. It wasn't just a sculpture. It was something that is very video.
Right,
and he
technology.
and when it comes to video art, he definitely gave video art credibility. It wasn't just a goofy hobby or something. It was something that was a little bit more legitimized through he and others that have followed his lead. Bill Viola is another one who studied from Namjoon Paik and has made really, really cool video works. I've never done a video on Bill Viola, but I should. Anyway.
Well, and like just thinking through movements of art and technology, like right now you think of like AI, that type of technology in art. What other, like art fused with technology?
Well, I think AI is really, and we've talked about AI quite a few times, and I think that there are just so many interesting questions. There are so many interesting pieces that come out of it, and anything that you could say could be created in a flash with the proper AI tool. I think some of them are better than others.
Well, for sure.
But
what were we looking up the other day trying to come up with? Burgher. We were doing art and Burgher, and oh my gosh, it was awful. What it was coming up with. But these are free sites. I'm sure if you get on these paid sites, and you're going to get a lot better quality.
That was a while back.
It was, and I don't remember what we were doing.
I can't remember what we were trying to find or generate or whatever.
We were trying to generate something with your name and gosh, I don't know. But we were messing around with it and we were not having much luck. Like, it was not generating what we were wanting it to. Now, had we got on and paid $50, we probably could have got exactly what we wanted. But my question was, what other types of art, like if you were thinking of art and technology right now and innovators in that industry, what comes to mind?
Well, it just depends on what you consider or classify as technology and that sort of thing. Photography is very much an innovation. It's a technology. A lot of times people look down on it. They said, well, photography is not art. It's more of a science. It's not really. It's just capturing what's in the world. So how is that art? And so, yeah, the photography was invented in by the late 1800s. It had been around for a little while, but it wasn't until the 1950s that it became a legitimized art form. So, it took not a long time, in the grand scheme of the universe but it took quite a while for art or photography to be accepted as art. And so I think, like, digital photography is, again, kind of a fusion of those old ideas and what's happening now. But I don't think that a digital photographer has to fight for their work to be considered art. I think, we've seen artists that work in photography and they do some cool stuff. It's digital formats, and you don't second guess why that's at an art festival. That seems pretty legit, like why that's there. You also have like graphic designers making graphics or logos, things like this. Like, is that an art form? Again, for years and years, it was just like, no. Magazine illustration, like pictures that would go in magazines, is that art? A lot of times people look down on that. I think that there has always been this hierarchy, whether real or imagined, that these arts are the best, and these arts are second, third, fourth tier, and these arts, I don't know about them. But those things always change and shuffle. You know, and this goes back hundreds of years. I mean, Michelangelo Buonarroti and Leonardo da Vinci used to have fights over this. Leonardo said the supreme artists were the painters, and Michelangelo Buonarroti said no, the supreme artists are the sculptors, and they would go back and forth. And
it's hard for me because it's so broad, and we've had this conversation, like what is art and what is not art. But like architecture does not seem like art to me, but it is. Developing a video game doesn't seem like an art to me, but it is, I assume. So it's such a broad, like me building my, designing our offices here and building our offices, art, I guess, but like it's such a broad, I don't know, I don't know where it ends and where it begins, and I think that a lot of times in terms of, like, people want to put things in a nice little compartment. And with art, it's really, really hard because there are so many thousands of things that fit in the box. And depending upon the context, things that are in the box are out of the box. Is the design of this furniture art? Sure it is. But is it also utilitarian? Yes. So do we interact with art that's furniture the same way in our home as we do in an art museum? But we obviously do, because there's all kinds of furniture. I mean, when you go to different art museums, there's sculptures, there's furniture, there's photographs, there's videos. We had that weird video that was in the Stanley Museum, and
well, again, it's the fact of, is it art? Okay, it's in the museum, we're going to accept it as art, but also, when is it art? Is when the furniture's in our home, we don't necessarily think of our lazy boy as a piece of art.
But I can guarantee at some point that was considered art. Like, all of a sudden, here's this chair, and da-da-da, and so...
Well, the design and the elements and the fabrics and the picking of things is very much an artistic process. And that's not to say that it's, again, and this goes back to the ideas of Marcel Duchamp. When he first said that this urinal is no longer a urinal, now it's called fountain, and we're going to accept it as a sculpture. Okay, like,
it's so subjective.
It's a real deep idea. And he was the first person to come up with this, and it was very controversial. And that controversy has become legendary, and this legendary controversy has now allowed that found ready-made art to be accepted in the art world. And again, you have Robert Ryman paintings that are white on a white canvas. You have minimalist paintings in lots of different forms. You have lights, you have videos, you have all kinds of things that might not have been perceived as art 20 years ago that are now accepted as art, or even further back, I don't know. But I think that Piero Manzoni said it best: what an artist makes is art, and leave it at that.
Yeah, again, broad. But when you were talking about the light, like, is art, like bringing in different light, it makes me think of that artist that was at was it the Des Moines Art Festival? We both loved that. It was photography, but all they did was just place different lights and have different lighting and different, like abandoned buildings or cars or whatever. And oh my gosh, I thought that was so cool. There's just so many things you can do.
They're called the flash nights. What I would say about that particular group that came from the Des Moines Art Festival, people can go back to the video on the Des Moines Art Festival. There's a link down below if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, you can go to the YouTube channel and find the video. You can do a simple search of Mr. Burgher, Des Moines Art Festival 2023, and it will take you to their. It'll show you all a few of the artists, including the artists that you're talking about that did the digital photography with, and kind of their process. I interviewed one of the artists, and she goes into the whole process. And at any rate, it's kind of fascinating, and that's something that hopefully this summer we're able to go back to the Des Moines Art Festival, maybe interview some more artists, and get another batch of those things.
We need to do a different festival this year.
Yeah,
that should be on our radar.
Festival radar.
What are some other good art festivals out there?
I don't know.
Have you been to any?
Nope. Only the locals, the local yokels. Although there are some big art festivals. I mean, there's a whole circuit of them. I mean, they're going on all the time, all around the country, and a lot of those folks are jumping from festival to festival.
Right. Did you like interviewing? Like, did you like that part of making videos, like the interview process of interviewing the artists? Or did you?
I liked getting in there and talking to the artists about what they do and letting them showcase their own work and like being able to hear what they have to say from their perspective. There were some very divergent opinions. There were some artists that were like, you gotta be really, you gotta study and learn and focus. And there were some that were like, don't study and learn and focus. You gotta, and so it was like, some ideas were very different. But at the end of the day, we all approach what we do from our own perspective, and we kind of do
through our own lens, in our own creative ways. We
want to do it the best way we can. So one may not be right or wrong, but there it is.
That was fun.
I do think that it's interesting, like you go up to some artists and say, hey, can I talk to you about your art? There's a few folks that were like, nah.
Which is so crazy. If they're there, why? Like,
I mean, there were some.
Maybe they thought you were crazy.
It could have been. I mean, it could have just been that they wanted to control the whatever. And there were people that I talked to that I just enjoyed the conversation. But most of the people that I talked to were people that I kind of liked their artwork and their approach and what they were doing. And 3 or 4 of those artists that we talked to, bought things from.
Right.
So, I'm not just showing up and, trying to mooch off of them. I want to legitimately purchase.
Well, and you're
things.
giving them, I mean, you have a following, you're basically doing marketing for them. You're giving their information to your audience, which is a big deal. I mean.
So anyway, people can look forward to those things, and hopefully we can do that. And it's always fun to do different things and talk to some different people and get other perspectives. I don't think, art one-on-one is me and you, or me and, my perspective, my opinion, me throwing that out there, but that's not the only.
Right.
That's not the only perspective, obviously, that's out there. There's millions of them, and some people are going to watch this and say, you know what, you're right on, and some people are going to say, this guy's full of shit.
Right.
So, I mean, it all depends upon your perspective. There you go.
Good idea. Way to go, Nicole.
There you go. Pod boss.
All right, let's wrap this one up for today. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Hit the buttons below. Go back and look at the videos we talked about on NAMM June Paik, the art festival, all of the good content that's out there.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, and we will see you next time.
Awesome. We'll see you next time. Turn the lights out. The party's over.